Welcome back. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today, mostly because we are stepping into something incredibly dark, mysterious, and, well, downright terrifying. Usually we're breaking down science or history, right? But today we are unpacking a chilling cautionary tale straight out of ancient lore. It's an explainer all about the ultimate cost of greed and the terrifying forces that just kind of lurk beyond our everyday understanding. So do yourself a favor and maybe dim the lights for this one, because the atmosphere of this source material is heavy, it's dark, and it's utterly gripping.
Okay, let's dive into this. I really want you to think about this question. Would you risk your life for infinite wealth? It's a classic dilemma, isn't it? We all like to sit back and think we'd play it safe, that we'd say a hard no. But human nature is pretty complex, and the lure of absolute power and endless riches has a funny way of completely twisting our logic. Today's explainer follows a young man named Arjun. He's someone who actually answered yes to this very question, and we are going to break down exactly how that single decision sealed his terrifying fate.
Section 1. The Mysterious Ancient Book. Our source material introduces us to Arjun, a young man who was deeply obsessed with the occult. One day, he uncovers this forbidden book hidden away in his grandfather's trunk, and it contained a blueprint for something truly unimaginable.
So, the crucial point here is understanding exactly what it was that Arjun found. The text detailed something called the yakchhini sadhana. Now, this isn't just a simple prayer you say before bed. It is a highly specific, extremely dark ritual. The text explicitly states it has to be performed in an old graveyard, and specifically on a new moon night, the absolute darkest night of the month. The goal? To summon a yakchhini. That's a powerful supernatural entity capable of granting whoever summons it immense wealth and mystical powers. But, as with all dark magic, there's always a catch.
Right there in the ancient text, printed plainly for anyone to read, was this incredibly chilling warning. It literally says, if even a slight mistake is made during the ritual, the seeker's destruction is absolutely certain. There is absolutely zero margin for error here, no second chances. It's a massive, terrifying red flag. But Arjun, totally blinded by the promise of infinite wealth and power, made the fatal decision to completely ignore this dire warning. He really thought he could outsmart the ancient magic.
Section 2. The Graveyard's New Moon. Just picture this scene for a second. It's the night of the new moon, in an ancient graveyard miles outside the village. It is pitch black, freezing cold, and the only sound is the haunting cry of wild jackals echoing in the distance.
Let's move to and see how this builds step by step. Here is the exact methodology Arjun followed. First, he waited for the absolute darkest night. Then, he entered the graveyard and drew a protective circular boundary right on the bare earth. Inside that circle, he lit a single, solitary lamp, which cast these long, eerie shadows across the tombstones. Finally, he closed his eyes and began to continuously chant the specific summoning mantra. And as the night deepened, the atmosphere grew increasingly horrifying. As Arjun chanted, this sudden, totally paralyzing sensation just washed over him. He could physically feel a presence standing right behind him. The air around him just grew heavier and heavier. But the ancient book had one absolute, unbreakable rule. No matter what happens, no matter what you hear or feel, you must not look back. Just imagine the sheer psychological torture of that exact moment. Every single instinct in your body is screaming at you to turn around, to just look and face whatever is hovering inches over your shoulder. But Arjun forced his eyes shut and just kept chanting.
And then the dead silence was broken. A voice echoed directly into his ears. Arjun, look at me. It wasn't some monster's growl either. It was a sweet, incredibly melodious female voice. The source text actually notes that the voice was so impossibly attractive that Arjun's resolve really began to waver. He desperately wanted to turn around, but he held on, forcing the mantra past his trembling lips. And because he didn't give in, that sweet, beautiful voice slowly warped. It twisted into a loud, terrifying, demonic laugh that just echoed through the entire graveyard.
Section 3. The yakchhini's deception. That terrifying laughter triggered absolute chaos. Dry, dead trees violently shook. Hundreds of unseen eyes glared from the pitch darkness. And then, suddenly, that solitary little lamp just blew out.
Now, what's really interesting about this part is the contrast. When the darkness finally settled, Arjun looked just outside his drawn circle. And standing right there was a woman dressed in pure white with long black hair sweeping the ground. Her face was breathtakingly beautiful, but her eyes were completely, solidly pitch black, just empty voids. She smiled at him and whispered, "I have arrived, your ritual is successful." Shaking uncontrollably, Arjun asked the entity if she was truly the yakchhini. The woman just slowly nodded. And then she laid out the absolutely inescapable terms of their bargain. The offer was everything he wanted. She would grant him the infinite wealth and mystical power he was craving. But the price? The price was no longer just the risk of a mistake. The price for this power was his soul. The sheer cruel irony of the bargain finally hit him. He wanted to master the occult, right? But instead, he had just completely sold himself to it.
At this point, the ground literally felt like it was slipping right out from beneath his feet. Blind panic just took over. Arjun forgot all the rules, he forgot about the protective circle, and he turned to flee for his life. But the second he turned, he froze. He was entirely surrounded. Dozens of shadowy figures, each with a deformed, horribly twisted face, blocked his path. And in total unison, the shadows whispered a single phrase that would haunt him. Now it is too late.
Section 4. The Price of the Soul. Driven by pure, unadulterated adrenaline, Arjun somehow managed to break through those shadows and sprinted all the way back to his house. He locked every door, but here's the thing about a supernatural pact: you really cannot lock it out.
His everyday life instantly became a suffocating nightmare. Every single night, the black-eyed woman was there. He'd see her staring right at him through the window glass. He would catch her hiding in the dark, shadowy corners of his bedroom. He'd look into the bathroom mirror to wash his face, and she would be standing right behind his reflection. And the psychological toll quickly manifested physically, too. Arjun's health just plummeted rapidly. His body grew devastatingly weak, and his face turned a sickly, deathly pale. He was literally being consumed from the inside out. And then came the final night. Arjun's mother was jolted awake by a blood-curdling scream echoing from his bedroom. She sprinted down the hall, threw open his door, but the room was completely empty. Arjun was just gone. The only thing left behind was his gruesome message deeply scratched into the bedroom wall, and it looked like it was carved by bare fingernails. It read, "Promise fulfilled. Now this soul is mine." Arjun was never seen again.
And this brilliantly illustrates the horrifying permanence of this whole tale. The story doesn't just end with a disappearance. It morphs into a local legend. The villagers actually say that to this very day, if you go out to that old graveyard on a new moon night, you will see the frantic shadow of a young man endlessly running. He is completely trapped in a loop, forever trying to escape this unseen force, while a woman's terrifying laughter rings out through the darkness right behind him. It's a permanent monument to his greed.
Which brings us to the final thought I really want to leave you with today. Knowing the absolute price Arjun paid, and knowing exactly what lurks in the dark when you demand things you haven't earned, would you dare go to that graveyard on a new moon night? It's a pretty chilling thought to end on, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining me on this incredibly dark journey through today's source material. Until next time, stay curious, learn from the past, and, maybe don't go opening any mysterious ancient books you find lying around. See you in the next explainer.